Welcome to another episode of 6th grade math. So today we are going to learn how to multiply and divide integers. So we have already done adding and subtracting. Now we're doing multiplying and dividing. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about different ways to see multiplication. So the regular old way that we have talked about is with an x. So like if I have 5x2, that is 5 times 2. And we have also learned that x could be a big dot. That is also the same thing. And then the one that we're really going to start seeing is parentheses with no symbols at all. And then vocab words that mean to multiply, like in word problems, could be like times, product, per, or double, which is kind of the same thing as twice. And this is not every single word that means to multiply. These are just some good ones to keep in mind. And then we have different ways to divide. So we're going to use C and H for cowboy and horse. So if we're writing it sideways, that would be cowboy divided by horse. Or a fraction, our cowboy goes on top of the horse. Or if we have a division house, our cowboy goes inside and our horse stays outside. And then we could use words such as split, quotient, that's the answer to a division problem. Something like separate. And again, this is not a full list, just a good starter. Okay, now, when we are going to multiply and divide, we use what's called integer man. So to add and subtract, we use the table. Now we are going to use the integer man to multiply and divide. And he starts with a circle, and he has 2 negative eyes and a positive mouth. And that is our integer man. He never changes. So let's look at our first problem. We have -3 times -7. So we're going to multiply like normal. We're not circling. We're not rewriting. We just multiply like normal. 3 times 7 is 21. But we have to use integer man. So we're going to draw him 2 negatives and a positive. So now we are going to look at the numbers. This has a negative, so I'm going to mark out a negative. My 7 has a negative, so I'm going to mark out a negative. Whatever is left goes on my answer. So my answer is positive 21, but we have discussed that positive sign is invisible, so my answer is just 21. All right, the next one, okay, here, this is not 4 minus 5. This is parentheses. And between the 4 and the 5, between right here, there is no symbol. So this right here, if there is nothing right here, that is multiplication. So we are going to rewrite this as 4 times -5. This is not 4 minus 5. This is 4 times -5. So we're going to multiply like normal. We have 4 times 5, which is 20. And then we're going to use integer man, 2 negatives and a positive. So my 4 does not have a symbol, but it's positive. So I'm going to mark out my positive. And then my 5 is negative, so I'm going to mark out a negative. And what's left? Negative. So my answer is -20. All right, next one. We have division, -18 divided by 2, so divide like normal. Cowboy, horse, 18 divided by 2 is 9. And then I have a negative, so I need to use integer man. I have a negative, so I'm going to mark out a negative. And that 2 has an invisible positive sign. So what's left? Negative, so -9. Okay, last one. 24 over 12 means to divide, so cowboy and horse. 24 divided by 12 is 2. And notice there are no negatives. And integer man doesn't have 2 negatives. Sorry, doesn't have two positives. That's because we cannot use him if there's no negatives. This is regular division like we've been doing all year long. So my answer is 2. So multiply and divide like normal, but use your integer man.